Hello everyone. Today we are going to study our new topic, that is kinetics of particles. So actually in the previous chapters we have discussed about the kinematics problems. Kinematics which deals with the bodies in motion without reference to the forces and which are the responsible for the motion. The forces which were responsible for the motion we didn't consider in the kinematics problems. But here now we are going to discuss about the forces which are responsible for the motion also. So the bodies or particles in motion with reference to the forces which produces the motion and which are responsible for the motion, those forces is to be considered in this chapter. So in this unit, first of all, we are going to study the motion of particles and connected bodies. And in the second part of this unit, we are going to study about the angular motion of the particles. So to start this topic, first of all, we should know some important definitions and terms. So the first term is the mass. Mass is defined as the quantity of matter contained in a body. It will not affected by the shape or state of position in the universe. So it is a scalar quantity. So first of all, we must be able to define the mass. Actually, it is a quantity of matter. What is the mass? It is a quantity of matter. Okay. So quantity of matter which is contained in a body. Matter can be anything, but if we consider few quantity about it, means we are saying about the mass. Okay. So whatever quantity we contain in a body, that quantity of matter is called as a mass. Mass is a scalar quantity. Why? Because it is not affected by the shape or the size or the state of its position in the universe. That's why it is a scalar quantity. Now the second term is inertia. Inertia is the property of a body to continue in its state or rest or of uniform motion. Means whenever a body is in motion, it will be continue its motion unless and until an external force is applied to it. Or if a body is in a state of rest, it will be continue in a state of rest unless and until a external force is applied to it. Now the third term is rotation. A motion is said to be rotation if all the particles of a rigid body moves in a concentric circle. Means each and every particle of a body is moving in a concentric circle, then that type of motion is called as rotation. Now the next term is angular motion. Now the angular motion means the motion of a body along the circumference of a circle is called as angular motion. Suppose this is a circle and the motion of a body along the circumference of circle means along this circumference, that type of motion is called as angular motion. This is the center of a circle. Okay, now the next term is angular displacement. Angular displacement. When we say about angular displacement, the body when travels this circumference of a circle, it means that it is passing or covering a distance from, suppose, from this point to this point. This distance is called as angular displacement. Now to define this angular displacement, what we use an angle which is subtended at the center. This angle denotes the angular displacement. Suppose it is theta. So angular displacement can be defined as the angle subtended at the center. Okay, by the path traveled by a body. This angle is subtended by a body by traveling this path, okay, at the center by the path traveled by the body. Okay. Next term is angular velocity. Now, the rate of change of angular displacement with respect to time is called as angular velocity. So, let us write the definition. The rate of change of angular displacement with respect to time is called as angular velocity. Okay, and angular velocity is denoted by omega. Now next term is angular acceleration. The rate of change of angular velocity with respect to time is called as angular acceleration. And it is denoted by alpha. Okay, so these are the few definitions which are required in this chapter. So now let us understand the meaning of linear motion of a particle. In kinetics, we have to deal with now linear motion of a particle. Actually in kinetics, linear motion of a particle can be analyzed either by using Newton's second law of motion or with the help of D'Alembert's principle. These two methods, which are differ only in the concept used and in the manner of writing the equations, but the final results are the same. Okay, so there are two methods in kinetics. The first one is Newton's second law of motion, and the another one is D'Alembert's principle. Actually, both these methods will give the same result. They are just differ in the concept. The basic relation between the force and acceleration is stated by the Newton's second law of motion. Using the Newton's second law of motion, if force acting on the particle is known, the acceleration of particle can be calculated. Okay, so the Newton's second law of motion of a particle may be replaced by equations similar to the equilibrium equations used in statics. Now, according to D'Alembert's principle, the problems of dynamic equilibrium, which were the case of Newton's second law of motion, can be converted into a static equilibrium by applying D'Alembert's principle. It may be noted that in general, actually, we prefer to use D'Alembert's principle rather than Newton's second law of motion for the analysis of linear motion of particles in kinetics. So first of all, we are going to study about the Newton's second law of motion. In this linear motion of particle, I have said you that there are two methods. The first method was Newton's, as I have said already, Newton's second law of motion, and second one is D'Alembert's principle. Now we are going to study about Newton's second law of motion. Actually, it states that the rate of change of momentum is directly proportional to the applied force. What does it say? It says that rate of change of momentum is directly proportional to the applied force. So we can write here force, applied force, and it takes place in the direction of force applied. Okay, so rate of change of momentum will takes place in the direction of the force. This law is also called as the fundamental law of dynamics. Newton's second law of motion is also called as fundamental law of dynamics. To understand this concept, let us consider a body of mass m is moving with a velocity u along a straight line. So u is the initial velocity, m is the mass of the body. Okay, now force F is applied. So F is a force, external force which is applied to the moving body having mass m and initial velocity v. So due to the application of external force, this velocity u will be changed to final velocity, that is v. And the time during which u changes to v, that is denoted by t. Okay, so t is the time. We all know that from the definition of the momentum, initial momentum of a body can be written as such. Initial momentum of a body is written as m into u, means m for mass and u for initial velocity, and final momentum of a body is equal to m into v. So now we can write rate of change of momentum. Rate of change of momentum is equal to final momentum minus initial momentum, which is changing in time t. So we can write it like this. So analyzing this equation, we can write m as a common outside the bracket, and in bracket we can write v minus u by t. So this is the equation for rate of change of momentum. Let us give the equation a name 1. So using the equation of linear motion now, using equation of linear motion. Why we are using equation of linear motion? Because we are studying linear motion of particle with the help of Newton's second law of motion. Using equation of linear motion, we can write v is equal to u plus at. Okay. Now we know the value of rate of change of momentum. Now from this equation, that is equation of linear motion, we can write the value of a also. Here is the a means acceleration. So a is equal to, transferring this u on the left hand side, we can write v minus u divided by t. A is equal to v minus u divided by t. So we have found the equation for acceleration also. Now substituting the value of this A in the equation 1. Now let's see. Rate of change of momentum we have find rate of change of momentum is equal to m into v minus u divided by divided by t, and now we have found v minus u by t is equal to a from this equation. V minus u by t is equal to a. This is the equation of linear motion. From here we found the value of v minus u by t as a. That's why we have replaced this v minus u by t by a. That means rate of change of momentum is equal to m into a now. M into a. M stands for mass and a for acceleration. According to the Newton's second law of motion, the rate of change of momentum is directly proportional to the force applied. We have discussed this point earlier, so we will write here now what we have said now. According to the Newton's second law of motion, this momentum, rate of change of momentum, this one is directly proportional to the force applied. So we can write it like this: F is directly proportional to m into a. So writing a controlling factor, that is replacing this directly proportional value or sign by the equal to sign, we have to write here one constant, okay, C into ma. Okay. Also we shall note this point that the force applied on a body is proportional to the product of mass of the body and acceleration produced in it. So we can directly write here F is equal to m into a, ignoring this constant C. So this F is equal to ma is the Newton's second law of motion. If the force is in Newton, then mass is in kg and acceleration is in meter per second square. Now this is we have found for the Newton's second law of motion. Newton's second law of motion. As we have earlier said you that the linear motion of a particle can be analyzed by the two methods, that is Newton's second law of motion and D'Alembert's principle. Using Newton's second law of motion, we have derived one equation, that is F is equal to ma. Now we are going to study about the D'Alembert's principle. D'Alembert's principle. Analysis of kinetics problems of a body in a plane motion can be solved by D'Alembert's principle, such that dynamic problems can be converted into a static equilibrium problem. As I have already said you this point, that dynamic problems we are going to convert it into the static equilibrium problems using D'Alembert's principle. So this principle is in fact an application of Newton's second law to a dynamic body. So according to Newton's second law of motion, the resultant force from a system of forces is equal to the product of mass and acceleration. I have already shown you that this force, applied force, is equal to m into a. Suppose a body is acted upon by the various forces, then this body will have a resultant force. That force is represented by R. This R is equal to m into a. This is the Newton's second law of motion. So we can write, according to the Newton's second law of motion, the resultant force from a system forces is equal to the product of mass and acceleration in the direction of resultant. That means R is equal to m into a. Why I have written here R? I have replaced F by the R, because F was a single force and R is a resultant force of the number of forces. R is equal to ma, where R is the resultant force from system of forces. Other terms you have already known, m into a. Now this equation can be written as R minus m into a is equal to 0. Now it is very clearly understood that equation R is equal to ma, this equation is the equation of dynamics, whereas equation R minus ma is equal to 0 is the equation of statics or dynamic equilibrium. Hence, D'Alembert's principle, also known as principle of kinestatics. D'Alembert's principle is also called as principle of kinestatics. Okay, now let me explain about the term minus ma. Actually, this term minus ma is a force of magnitude acting on a body in opposite to the direction of motion, is known as the inertia force. This is known as inertia force or D'Alembert's force or reverse effective force. We can say any name to this force, that is inertia force, D'Alembert's force or reverse effective force. When the resultant and its inertial force of given force system is in equilibrium, then such equilibrium is called as dynamic equilibrium. Now, after understanding the concept of minus ma, which is in the D'Alembert's principle, now it's time to state D'Alembert's principle. So, statement of D'Alembert's principle is: the system of forces acting on a body which is in motion is in the dynamic equilibrium, with the inertia force of body, So, after getting this statement, now it's time to solve some problems based on D'Alembert's principle. The problems would be solved in the live lectures. Thanks for watching.